If you're buying Lego this year and you're not paying attention to what's retiring, you might be making a pretty expensive mistake. Because some of these Lego icon sets are about to disappear, and when they do, the prices don't just creep up, they can jump pretty quickly. So today, I want to walk you through 5 Lego icon sets that are expected to retire in 2026, and more importantly, the ones that actually look worth picking up before that happens. And this isn't just based on hype or I like this set. This is based on what typically drives value after retirement, things like demand, subject matter, and how similar sets have performed in the past. Now, just quickly before we get into the list, Lego icons as a theme has actually done pretty well over time. On average, you're looking at around 10 to 11% growth per year across retired sets, which is solid. But the reality is, not every set performs the same. Some barely move at all, and then others quietly double in value over a few years. And usually the difference comes down to a few simple things. Is the subject iconic? Is it something people actually want to display? And does it fit into a category that collectors already care about? So with that in mind, these 5 sets are the ones that seem to tick the most boxes heading into retirement. Alright, let's start with the one that stands out the most. The Lego Icons Endurance set. This one's currently projected to grow around 45% in its first year after retirement, which is pretty big. And honestly, it makes sense when you look at it. It's based on Shackleton's expedition ship, so there's already a strong story behind it. But what really helps is that the ship itself has been back in the spotlight recently, especially after the wreck was rediscovered. So you've got this mix of history and renewed interest, which usually works really well for collectibles. And then there's the build itself. It's big, it's detailed, and it just looks like something you'd want to put on display. It's not one of those sets you build once and forget about. It actually feels like a centerpiece, and those are usually the ones people go back and try to pick up later when it's already retired. Now, just behind that, there's another set that's a bit different, but just as interesting for a completely different reason. That's the Lego Icons 10341 NASA Artemis Space Launch System set. This one's sitting at around 42% projected growth. So again, really solid. But the thing that stands out here is that it's tied to something happening right now. The Artemis program is NASA's return to the moon, and that gives this set a level of relevance that older space sets didn't really have. It's not just, here's a cool rocket, it's connected to real-world events, and that tends to bring in a wider audience. You've got Lego fans, obviously, but also space enthusiasts, STEM fans, even people who just follow NASA. And the build itself is pretty impressive too. It's big, with over 3,600 pieces, and it's got some nice functional elements with the stages and boosters. So it's not just display, it's got a bit of interaction to it as well. And historically, space sets, especially NASA ones, have done very well over time. Now, not everyone wants to spend £200 or more on a set. So let's talk about something a bit more accessible. This is where the Lego Icons 10351 Sherlock Holmes Book Nook set comes in. This one's projected at around 41%, which is actually very close to the others, but at a much lower price. And I think this might be one of the most interesting sets on the list, because it's doing something a bit different. It's designed to sit inside a bookshelf, almost like a little window into a scene, which already makes it stand out compared to standard display sets. But then you've got the Sherlock Holmes theme on top of that, so you're not just appealing to Lego collectors, you're also pulling in people who like books, classic stories, that kind of thing, and that crossover can make a big difference. Plus, the minifigure lineup here is actually pretty strong. You've got Sherlock, Watson, Moriarty, which are all characters people recognise, so even at a lower price point, there's still a lot going for it. Now, from something quite unique to something that's been consistently reliable for years, the Lego Icons 10326 Natural History Museum set. This one's projected slightly lower, around 35%, But there's a reason it's still here. It's part of the modular buildings collection, and modulars have just been consistently strong performers. They don't always spike immediately, but over time, they tend to just keep going up. And a big part of that is because they connect together. Once someone starts building a modular street, they don't want gaps. So even years later, people go back and try to find the ones they missed. This one's over 4,000 pieces, loads of detail, and it fits perfectly into that lineup. So while it might not be the fastest mover, it's probably one of the more reliable long-term options. And then finally, we've got the biggest one on the list, the LEGO Icons 10,307 Eiffel Tower set. This thing is huge. With over 10,000 pieces and nearly 5 feet tall, it's one of the biggest LEGO sets ever made. Now, it's projected at around 31% growth, which is lower than the others, but that's kind of expected at this level, because this isn't something everyone is going to buy. It's expensive, it takes up a lot of space, it's a commitment, but that's also what makes it interesting long term. Fewer people own it, fewer people store it sealed, and that can drive scarcity later on. And then you've got the fact that it's the Eiffel Tower. It's one of the most recognisable landmarks in the world. So there's always going to be demand for something like this. So when you look at all 5 of these together, there's actually a few different ways you could approach it. You could go for one of the bigger sets, like the Endurance or Artemis, or you could spread your budget across a couple of mid-range options, like the Sherlock set and the Museum. It really depends on how you want to balance risk and budget. But the main thing is timing, because as we get closer to retirement, especially towards the end of the year, stock starts to drop and prices can creep up even before the sets officially retire. So if you're planning your next LEGO purchases, these are definitely the ones I'd be looking at sooner rather than later, because once they're gone, you're not buying at retail anymore, you're buying from other collectors. And that's when things start getting expensive. If you found this helpful, drop a like and subscribe for more LEGO investment breakdowns, and let me know in the comments which of these sets are you picking up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.